Is that recorded? You're able to see the eggs in the bottom of those cells? It's difficult, huh? Just do the best you can. All right, so we see some open larvae down here. There's plenty of royal jelly in the bottom of these cells, so the protein status of the hive is good. When you put these frames in, try and very carefully put them back in without squishing any bees, and then very carefully snug it up against the frame next to it. Then when we've got them all over here, we can en masse move them and have less chance of crushing our queen. Boy, is it hot out here. All right. It sure is a hot day. Okay. Another big frame of brood. These girls really have a ton of brood in this colony. Healthy looking workers, healthy looking brood. Try and have the sun shining over your shoulder like I do. It shines down to the bottom of the cells, makes it easier to see the larvae and the eggs. So we've got cat brood here. In this area here, we have a lot of young larvae, developing larvae. The same up in this corner. There's some queen cups we need to check on here also. This colony's looking good. They're looking healthy. It looks like there's plenty of nutrition coming in, pollen and nectar. We've got some queen cups on the bottom here. You want to check all of these because if they're charged, if they have eggs in it, then you need to find your queen and make a split. Or have some other strategy in mind, but that's what I would do. Okay, let's have a look on the other side here. Wow, there's a lot of bees there, huh? That's why sometimes finding a queen can be challenging. It's like, where's Waldo? Look how many bees are on here. It's a very populous colony and they've got a lot of broods. They're still getting bigger, which is sort of what happens throughout the summer. They peak and then they start to decline. Just gently blow on the bees and they'll move. So you can see capped larvae here, uncapped larvae. You've got some nice rim of pollen around the outside there. Yeah, there's a lot of uncapped larvae all in this area here. And as you'd expect, we have some cat brood toward the center as the queen lays like this. Again, healthy bees, healthy brood. I've got no complaints so far. This colony looks great. And I don't see the queen on that frame. So again, back in very carefully. Try not to scrape bees. Try not to squash bees. And then just gently snug the frame up without squishing anybody. And that way, when you go to put them all back in one go, you've got less chance of squishing the bees because you get less frames to move. All right, onward and upward. Let us continue. All right, so we're getting to a frame that's largely empty. We have a little bit of pollen around the edges. We've got some cat brood over here. We've got some healthy looking worker bees, certainly a good population of worker bees. And some pollen bee bread around the brood, but not a lot of nectar on this frame actually. A little, not a lot. Let's flick over and have a look at the other side. The other side has more nectar on it, more pollen. And we have some eggs over here also. Still haven't seen my queen yet. Just gently, methodically go through your colony. No hurry. Stay relaxed and calm. The bees will do the same. Got a lot of bees looking up at us here. I'll give them a little puff of smoke. Normally the queen will be in the top box, but it's not always, so we may have to go down to the bottom box to find her. We'll see. We will see. This is a frame of eggs, literally a solid frame of eggs. And we've got some pollen around the outside of it and some nectar around the outside of that. try and clear these bees and see if we can see those eggs in the center there, because there are a lot of them. Hopefully those are showing up on the camera. This frame is completely covered in eggs. Don't see my queen in this frame, at least on this side of it. Looks like a queen cup there I have to check. There is. There's a queen cup there. That's empty. And it's the same on this side. This whole frame on both sides is completely covered in eggs, which is good news. Bee carrying a little pollen here. This girl here, she's got some white pollen on her legs there. Now oftentimes I'll find the queen on the frame with the eggs, not always, but oftentimes. There's no guarantees anymore she has any more paint on her, because over winter they often pick the paint off, and by this time you're looking at a queen that has very little or no paint on her. So let's very carefully lower this down now, because I think we're probably very close to our queen at this point. How are we doing on time?
I don't know.
Oh,
Probably 10 minutes.
All right, so good looking frame of food. Big swath of pollen, nectar around the outside, little cat brood there. We have some eggs there, some more cat brood. Healthy bees. This is a good frame actually. You've got all of that nutrition there, the pollen which is going to give your bees protein, lipids, vitamins and minerals, carbohydrates from the honey and the nectar. And this is a really good frame, and you often see that with a lot of pollen right up against the brood like that, so that they're able to quickly provide the nutrition to the larvae that they need to do. Let's have a look at the other side here. This side of the frame we've got a different coloured drone this time. Sort of a stripy coloured drone. Worker bees, some brood in the centre, and then again nutrition on the outside, some capped honey, some nectar, some pollen and bee bread here, some more capped honey over here. And again, no queen yet. No, don't see her on there. She's a lot bigger than the other bees, so once you spot her, it's kind of easy to see her, but in a populous colony like this, it's not always an easy job to find your queen, particularly if she's not marked. This queen should be marked, unless they've removed the paint over the winter. Well, since the last time I looked at them, at least. The last time I checked her, she was painted. All right, so we're over to frame 9 now. Let's see what's going on over here. Big frame of pollen and nectar. And that's kind of what you see. You end up with the nutrition on the outside of the brood nest. So we have a little capped honey, a ton of nectar, bunch of pollen. It's a really good feed frame there. And in looking at the amount of royal jelly that's in the bottom of the cells with the larvae, this colony is doing really well for nutrition. And you've seen that on this frame. Ton of nectar, ton of pollen, ton of capped honey. Good population of healthy bees. All right. Now, super unlikely really that my queen will be on frame 10 or frame 1, but it's not impossible, so we'll take a quick look. Gently, gently. So we've got just nectar and capped honey here. And no queen bee. All right, so let's gently lower this back in. We'll reassemble this box, take it off, and have a look and see what's down below. So let's give a little puff of smoke here. Now you'll see the benefit of having these all over like this. Now we can put the hive tool down and wedge these frames over in one go. And there's less chance of crushing our queen now because there's less relative movement of each frame to the next. Just watch the seam when you join them together, that you don't squash any bees when you do that, and that you're not squashing any bees here when you compress here. Very good. All right, so now our colony is back in its original orientation. With frame 2, I don't want to squish all these bees, so I tend to just shake them off onto the colony like that, and then match your burr comb up to the other side, or the cross comb rather, and that way you know you have your frame in the correct orientation. And just let it gently drop down, try not to squish any bees in between the cross comb there, and then we're golden. We'll take our excluder and just put that on top of this honey super, because I'm going to put that second brood box on here, and I don't want my queen to inadvertently end up in the supers. Give them a little compression noise. That's a Formic Pro strip that was put on a couple of weeks ago. So formic acid is part of our treatment for varroa. You can use this when honey supers are on. It'll actually penetrate the cappings. You can either use 2 strips for 14 days, or like I do, 1 strip every 10 days for 2 treatments. Very effective treatment. You just have to be really careful with the ambient temperature. If it gets too warm, above about 82 or 83 Fahrenheit, you can actually kill the bees with it. Queens and brood death, so we try and avoid that. We're going to do exactly the same thing in this box. And we may not pull this completely apart. We'll look through a few frames and see if we can find her queen. And if not, we know that she's in there, at least was 3 days ago, because we have eggs. There's no queen cells yet, so we can be relatively comfortable that our queen is still in there. There's brood down here also. This is a very big, strong colony actually. All right, so this is a good frame of young brood in the center and cap brood on the outside. And the same on this frame. Don't see my queen on here. Just did a quick look. If we have a look in the center here, you'll have to come around this way so the sun's not shining in there, so that your shadow is not shining in there. And you'll be able to see in the center a bunch of young larvae with plenty of royal jelly in the bottom of those cells. Can you see that? There are eggs around the periphery of that also. We have some bee bread and pollen around the outside of that cap brood. And again, the brood all looks healthy. Not seeing any sign of brood disease here so far. Let's make sure our queen is not on this frame before we put it on the ground. Very good. Stand that up gently there. Give them a little puff, and we go back to our inspection. There sure is a heap of brood in this colony. Another frame of cap brood with plenty of pollen around the outside of it. This colony is looking great. I'm happy with how this is looking for sure. Let's see here some emerging brood. Some little baby bees trying to escape their cells. Their antennae sticking out as they start to eat their way out through the capping there. The sisters would probably be helping them if I wasn't in the way here. There sure are a ton of frames of brood in here. Looks like we've got a broken frame there too, which will need to be replaced. Overall, the comb in this colony is looking okay. You don't want really old, dark, crummy comb in your hives. There's a few of these that could probably do with being cycled out and replaced. More brood, cap brood on the left, open brood throughout this area, and we have pollen over this right-hand side. See that pollen there? So plenty of nutrition in this colony, plenty of brood, plenty of bees. Couldn't be happy with this. These bees look great. There again, we're just gently putting these frames in adjacent to one another. How's our time looking?
We're probably just about done.
All right, we'll look at this frame and then we'll call it a day. This frame's actually broken, which isn't good, so I'll certainly have to replace that one. Propolis sure is sticky stuff. Yeah, that frame is literally snapped there. That frame is going to have to be replaced, unfortunately. See that top bar's broken there. So tons of pollen, tons of cat brood, all looks very healthy. Again, haven't seen my queen yet. It's a mountain of pollen, that frame, tons and tons of it. So this is drone comb in the center here. You can see the cells are quite a lot bigger than worker comb down here. See how big these cells are here? And that's where they're putting the male bees. Down here we have worker brood comb rather, which is much smaller. Interesting, that little girl's covered in yellow pollen. See this one here? She's covered in pollen. This bee here's brought some white pollen in. All right, well, I think at this point we'll call it a day. I don't think there's any real need to continue on and try and find the queen. We know that this colony is queen right, at least was 3 days ago, based on the fact that there are eggs. There's a mountain of larvae, a mountain of nutrition. I'm seeing no sign of disease either in the brood or on the bees. All looks great. I'm very happy with how this colony's going. One thing I may do is chuck another super on here because they're already about 2/3 of the way through that third super. So might give them another box just to make sure that they have enough room.